Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Here are the top stories of the news. Osun State Assembly orders status quo in local government administration pending legal processes. Ogun and Oyo State government set to deploy drones to tackle kidnapping on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. At the foreign scene, New Zealand and Finland leaders condemn sexist question from journalists. Good afternoon and welcome to News at 12 on Western Spring Television. My name is Femi Olanikbekun. The Osun State House of Assembly has ordered that status quo be maintained in all matters concerning local government administration in the state, pending the exhaustion of all legal means, resolving that all such matters were left to the court of law. Our Speaker of the Assembly, Timothy Oweye, made this known at plenary of the House, where he informed lawmakers of a notice of appeal against the decision of a Federal High Court judgment served on the 7th Assembly. At the plenary presided over by the Speaker, the Assembly also responded to recent events in the state, stating that the legislative arm, which is saddled with the responsibility of lawmaking, only disagreed with the governor on matters of law. While briefing lawmakers on the outcome of the private meeting he held with Governor Ademola Adeleke, Mr. Oweye said that there now exists a mutual understanding that the House will be carried along on matters that concern the legislature. The Speaker held that the position of the House of Assembly was purely from the point of law and is not in any way antagonizing the executive arm of government, adding that the positions of Assembly was related to the governor at the meeting. And still in Osun State, diverse reactions have continued to trail Governor Ademola Adeleke's executive order suspending the appointments of the Akinrun of Ikirun, Are of Ire, and Owa of Igbajo. Olayinka Ali visited the three towns and now reports. In other news, Nigeria Police Force says the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, was not aware of a previous court order on the reinstatement of a former police officer. Yesterday, a federal high court in Abuja sentenced Mr. Baba to 3 months in prison for disobeying a court order directing the reinstatement of Patrick Okoli, a former officer who claimed he was unlawfully and compulsorily retired from the force in June 1992. Justice Mobolaji Olajuwon ruled that the IGP be committed to prison and detained for 3 months or until he obeys the order. Reacting to the sentencing of the IGP in a statement, first spokesperson Muyiwa Adejobi said the news is strange and astonishing since the last judgment on the case was in 2011 and not during the administration of the current IGP. He, however, said the IGP has erected a commissioner of police in charge of the Force Legal Unit to investigate the allegation in a bid to ascertain the position of the court and proffer informed legal advice for the IGP's prompt and necessary action. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said it is very wrong to think that corruption pays. Professor Osinbajo said this in Abuja at the unveiling of the operation manuals for integrity and zero tolerance clubs organized by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. According to him, many who think they can get away with corruption are often surprised that the long arm of the law, even if sometimes slow, eventually catches up with them. Professor Osinbajo said it is important to first recognize that integrity, honesty, and trustworthiness were crucial individual and collective attributes for successful people and communities. He added that every corrupt act was not just a crime, but a crime against society and even children yet unborn. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has said he will soon reveal his choice of presidential candidate for the 2023 elections. Governor Wike spoke at the inauguration of a road in Obiakpo local government area of Rivers. He told his audience to vote for the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in all the elective positions in 2023 elections. On his choice for president, Governor Wike said it will be made known in due course, adding that there is no political party that can win the presidential election in the state without his support. And talking security, the Ogun and Oyo state governments will this week deploy drones to tackle incidences of kidnapping on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Ogun State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun said these when the management of leadership newspapers paid him a visit in his office. Governor Abiodun said that his administration would neutralize kidnappers abducting people on the expressway, particularly on the Ogun section of the highway. The governor explained that the state, in conjunction with Oyo State, has set up a joint security team to beef up security on the expressway. He added that the synergy with Oyo State is meant to ensure that the flash points between Lagos and Oyo State are well covered by security teams. Presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has expressed shock over the death of the party's woman leader in Kaura, Kaduna State, Mrs. Victoria Chintex. Mrs. Chintex was assassinated by gunmen who invaded her residence on Monday. The assailants also shot her husband, who is being treated in a hospital. While reacting to the incident, Mr. Obi said the development is a huge loss to her immediate family and the party. It is close that her killing and the loss of many innocent lives across the nation to gunmen and terrorists are the reason why he will prioritize the war against insecurity as his first task in office if elected. In Borno State, the government says about 90% of hardened Boko Haram insurgents have been eliminated. The special advisor on security to the Borno State government, Brigadier General Abdulrazak Ishak, retired, disclosed this to newsmen at the Hajj camp in Maiduguri, Borno State capital. He said 82,237 outlaws and their families had surrendered so far. On his part, the theater commander, Operation Hardin Kai, Major General Christopher Musa, said that out of the 276 kidnapped Chibok girls, 57 escaped, 117 were released, and 11 were rescued in 2022. He also said that 11 of the Chibok girls who recently escaped captivity presently have 25 children, adding that in all, 180 girls were out of captivity, while 96 remained in the custody of the terrorist. You are watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. I will be right back after this break.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girl got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
You're welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari has said the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the Sahel insurgency have caused the proliferation of arms in the Lake Chad Basin countries. He said weapons being used in Ukraine and Russia were beginning to filter into the region, and arms used in the Libya war continues to find their way there. Speaking at the summit for the Lake Chad region in Abuja, President Buhari said this was a major threat to the security of the regional countries of Cameroon, Chad, Niger Republic, and Nigeria. He said the countries in the region must improve border security to stop arms trafficking, noting that the region faced a complex and dynamic security situation. He said this was increasingly influenced by the impact of climate change and other variables, including some external factors. The summit approved further joint army operations against Boko Haram and Islamic State group militants active in the region. Of Ukraine, Olena Zelensky has opened a traveling exhibition entitled Russian War Crimes, which is being hosted at one of the main office buildings for Britain's Houses of Parliament. Earlier, the Ukrainian First Lady addressed the UK Parliament, where she urged the lawmakers to unite the world community and help Ukraine's conflict with Russia. She compared Russia's bombardment of Ukrainian cities to Nazi Germany's bombing of UK during World War II. The speech comes as Ukraine enters its 9th month of conflict with Vladimir Putin's forces.
So hello, I will speak Ukrainian and you will hear the translation.
24th of February 2022, we are witnessing genocide, war crimes committed by Russia against Ukrainian people. And we understood that unfortunately our dream about never again doesn't work. And we have to speak not about never again, but we have to say, stop now.
This exhibition, as the title suggests, shows the reality. It features photographs taken from all over Ukraine from the moment Russia invaded in February this year. It shows the atrocities carried out against civilians and destroyed their lives.
The leaders of New Zealand and Finland have dismissed a journalist's suggestion that they arranged a meeting because they are similar in age. At a news conference in Auckland, Finland's Sanna Marin and New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern said they met because they are prime ministers, not because they are both young female leaders. Ms. Ardern questioned if male leaders would have faced the same question, saying she wondered whether or not anyone ever asked Barack Obama and John Key if they met because they were of similar age. Former U.S. President Barack Obama and former New Zealand Prime Minister John Key were born within days of each other in 1961. In Asia, China's former leader Jiang Zemin, who came to power after the Tiananmen Square protesters died at 96, Xinhua news agency said he died today. One of the major figures of Chinese history in recent decades, he presided over a time where China opened up on a vast scale and saw high-speed growth. and former Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has been censured by the nation's parliament for giving himself secret powers while in office. The historic motion follows a damning report which said his actions were corrosive of trust in government. It marks the first time a former Prime Minister has been censured by the House of Representatives. Mr. Morrison has defended appointing himself to several ministries, calling the censured retribution by opponents. In August, it emerged that Mr. Morrison had become Joint Minister for Health, Finance, Treasury, Home Affairs, and Resources in the 2 years before he lost power in May. Mr. Morrison has said that decisions were made amidst the extraordinary times of the pandemic.
Asked me in the past to lead and for the faith that they have placed in me. Mr. Speaker, I am proud of my achievements in this place. Ministry list tabled in Parliament referenced, as it does, that ministers may be sworn to administer additional. Mr. Speaker, I acknowledge that the non-disclosure of arrangements has caused unintentional offence and extend an apology to those who were offended. But, Mr. Speaker, I do not apologise for taking action, especially prudent redundancy action in a national crisis in order to save lives and to save livelihoods. I have no intention now, Mr. Speaker, of submitting to the political intimidation of this government using its numbers in this place to impose its retribution on a political opponent.
A censure motion like this is as rare as it is grave. The fact that it has become so necessary constitutes a profoundly sad moment in the life of our national parliament. But to ignore it would be to be complicit in saying, well, that was okay. Power should never be abused. This was an abuse of power and a trashing of our democracy. This was not a one-man...
Talking business, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has explained the reason for the simplicity of the Naira redesign. Director for Currency Operations, CBN, Ahmed Umar, spoke at the 2022 workshop for business editors and members of the Finance Correspondents Association of Nigeria in Port Harcourt, represented at the event by Head Policy Development Division, Currency Operation Department, Amina Khalidu Giwa. He said the Apex Bank had limited time to tackle the problem of counterfeiting currency hoarding, amongst others. Twitter says it has stopped enforcing its policy on misleading information about the coronavirus. According to the company's website, it stopped taking action against tweets breaching its COVID rules on Wednesday, 23rd of November. Twitter had previously reported suspending more than 11,000 accounts for COVID misinformation as of September this year. Its other policies on false information remain on Twitter's website without a similar notice saying they will no longer be enforced. In the United States, President Joe Biden has vowed that the country's economy will not be held hostage anymore by China's dominance over global supply chains. He said this during a visit to SK Siltron CSS plant in Michigan, where he touted efforts to manufacture semiconductor components domestically. The visit comes around 4 months after Mr. Biden approved the CHIPS and Science Act, which funds more than $52 billion in subsidies and $24 billion in tax credits for companies to make chips in the United States. To some sports stories now, street celebrations erupted in Senegalese capital Dakar after the men's football national team advanced into the World Cup's knockout stages for only the second time in the country's history. Senegal defeated Ecuador 2-1 yesterday evening to finish as runners-up in Group A behind the Dutch. The win saw Aliou Cissé's side set up a last 16 meeting with Group B winners England and Sunday. Crowds poured to the streets of Dakar after the final whistle, with many waving the country's flag while others chanted praise for the players. One group of supporters went to the presidential palace, where they were met by President Macky Sall. Captain Gareth Bale has said he will continue playing for Wales for as long as he is wanted after defeat by England sealed their World Cup elimination. A 3-0 loss at Doha's Hamad bin Ali Stadium means Wales ending a disappointing World Cup campaign, bottom of Group B. The 33-year-old Bale says he will be back for international duty when Robert Page's side begin Euro 2024 qualifying in March. Before we end the news, here's a recap of our top stories. The Osun State House of Assembly has ordered that status quo be maintained in all matters concerning local government administration in the state, pending the exhaustion of all legal means, resolving that all such matters be left to the court of law. The Ogun and Oyo state governments will this week deploy drones to tackle incidents